Hugh Ross, an astrophysicist by trade, was discussing Psalm 22. Let's check it out.
Psalm 22, written 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years before the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth. But Psalm 22 predicts in detail how the Messiah would die and talks about how his feet and his hands would be nailed and pierced. And this was done several hundred years before the invention of the crucifixion as a means of execution. And it talked about, and what really got me is Psalm 22 even predicts the exact words of mockery that would be thrown at Jesus by the religious leaders when he was dying on the cross. And the words of mockery from Gentiles would be thrown at him at the scene of the cross. And you notice in the gospel accounts, it actually has Jesus on the cross dying, and the first words out of his mouth, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That's the opening statement of Psalm 22. The last words of Jesus, it is finished. The last words of Psalm 22, it is finished. And it tells us there was a Roman centurion who was in charge of the execution of Jesus and the two thieves. When he heard those words of Jesus, what did he say? Surely this was the Son of God. He was probably a centurion that was familiar with the Old Testament. It's possible Jesus was quoting Psalm 22 as he was dying on the cross. And in Psalm 22, over 30 specific details of how Jesus would die on the cross are recorded there. Every one of them happened. And I can imagine if the centurion was familiar with Psalm 22, he would have been driven to proclaim, this has surely got to be the Son of God. Word for word, everything in Psalm 22 is being fulfilled right before my eyes.
What's fascinating about that too is that you could, if you were being skeptical, you could make the argument that Jesus knew about the prophecy, so he said those things to sort of fulfill it, voila. But what's interesting is all of those details in between are totally outside of his control.
Now that was good. Psalm 22 is certainly one of the strongest prophetic passages in the Old Testament. Like Dr. Ross said, it goes line by line, matching up very closely to everything happening to Jesus and around Jesus at his crucifixion. I was a bit skeptical when Hugh said the last part of the psalm ended with "it is finished." I thought, no, it doesn't. Well, it turns out in verse 31 when it says that he has done it, it could be translated as that he has finished it. That is so awesome. Now, Ross didn't bring this up, but there is pushback. A lot of people say, oh, this isn't a prophecy. Well, for that, I want to refer you to an excellent video going into much detail on Psalm 22 with James White and Michael Brown. They get into the nitty-gritty, the pushbacks, and pretty much go verse by verse through the psalm. I will link it below. And before I forget, the guy interviewing him runs the channel Daily Dose of Wisdom, so be sure to check him out as well. So have a good one. I got to take this call and grab some coffee. Me and Little Apologist will see you next time.
Amen, brother.